basically the approach that I take with my club as well. You know, my wife and I own a club team, and that's kind of how we broke down our curriculum as well. Is you know, you have these tools that you use to, one, provide feedback, to also test the program that you've written to help your athletes get better, and then overall accountability. Are we coming to practice? Are we putting in the work that we need to? Just like you said, you skipped the practice. You know, we're not seeing that consistency. And I think one of the big things in order for you to see results, period, is frequency and consistency. You need to be there. You need to put forth the effort. And then, you know, just by testing, we're seeing, are you really running as hard as you can? And that's kind of my whole approach to kind of how we run our club as well.
Exactly. No, and you know, the thing is, it's really easy. This goes back to what you were saying 10 minutes ago. It's really easy to get caught up on those sexy and really cool new drills that everybody posts on Instagram. And if you're a consuming parent who doesn't have a background in strength conditioning, performance, sports science, that's what you think your child needs. And it's funny because, you know, we say it all the time. I use the most basic strategies, even with Olympic athletes. I mean, there is nothing cute. We don't use step ladders. You know, my belief is if you can coach on a deserted island and there's nothing there for you to use as a tool, then you're a great coach. And, you know, so if it can apply to those elite athletes who don't need cool toys and jumping around with water bags, you may not need it at the youth level, because it goes back to that thought process. You have to know the rules before you can break the rules.
Absolutely.
So the youth athlete doesn't know the rules yet.
Right.
So trying to get them to break the rules is not advantageous. At that point, you need to be very structured and teach them the rules of running. So that way they open up the bandwidth of what they can do and how they can express themselves as they mature. And so, yeah, I mean, it's the child who can be consistent with the coach who knows how to use the most elegant form of training. And elegant mean simple yet effective. So coming out of those best practices, that's the most potent relationship: consistency and effectiveness. And you put those two together, and that's what it's all about. Then you don't need those crazy drills that get a lot of likes.
Right.
Because your likes are in the victory column, you know, the win-loss column of the newspaper.
Exactly.
That's what I care about.
Exactly. And I like the fact that you're starting young. You know what I mean? When you have a young athlete, you're able to mold that athlete so that they actually know what to do by the time they're in middle school or high school. Because a lot of times when, you know, say you might have skipped those steps and you're in middle school or high school, just like you said, you have to start over. And that buy-in that you might have with the younger athletes, you don't really have with them, because they're looking for the quick fix. And it's not a quick fix because you skip the steps. And that's what I say.
Without a doubt. I mean, that's having children changed my life, because I used to care so much about the Olympic level. And then when you have children and they go into sports, you realize how few coaches are really out there that understand proper training and patient training. And so I think that's where, and that's, again, I sing your praises because you get it. You need to have effective coaching at the grassroots level, people who really understand training and monitoring, because you have the biggest effect. If you can get the children trained properly early, it allows them to have a greater career, a longer career. You don't have as many overuse injuries. You don't have as many soft tissue problems and corrections later on down the road. And I see that even working with college athletes now, that because they rushed steps or skipped steps, you're having to put Band-Aids on them rather than be able to train them, you know, all systems go first day as a freshman.
Right.
So, you know, I hate to say it's a generational thing. You know, back in the day, you know, we played every sport seasonally, but I'm starting to see the difference in the fact that athletes don't come to us, even at the national team level. They're not coming to us robust and well trained. Mm-hmm. They've kind of focused on one thing way too early, and coaches may have not developed them accurately. So therefore it limits what we can do.
Right.
And so I think, again, what you're doing as far as multilateral development, patient development, and then monitoring that along the way is fantastic, because that's what's needed at this point.
Right. And I think too, to sum up what you kind of do with the, the national athlete and the Olympic athlete, is when you're at the grassroots, you want to develop, just like we talked about, that long term, so that when they do get to you, they do have a chance to, pursue that next level. So what I really do with the monitoring and the tracking is kind of to prepare you for what you might see if you are trying to get a college scholarship or you're trying to make a national team. Because when you do get there, just like you said, you guys have already kind of looked at those KPIs and you know kind of what that athlete needs to do. But do we really know at the younger level if we're developing to hit those numbers? And I think that's where the long-term athletic development term comes from for me.